Okay, so it's day one of the global media launch for CFMoto, and we're already in for a treat. Just take a look at this view. It's a 50,000 kilometer 450MT. Portugal. And we're back. So today we are here at the Autodromo International Racetrack here in Portimao, Portugal for the biggest ever CFMoto global launch event. So this launch is very important for CFMoto because there are over 200 bikes here in total with over 100 nationalities from different countries and the 5 new bikes that they are launching today. Okay, so first off, we have the 675 SRR. So this is an all-new platform with their all-new triple-cylinder engine in sports bike form. Next, we have the 675 NK, which shares the same engine with the 675 SR, but in naked form. So the NK line is very important for CFMoto because this is one of their first and most popular line that puts CFMoto in the map. Next up, we have the NK125. So I'm not sure yet if this is coming to the Philippines, and it does share a big resemblance to its older brother, the 675 NK. Next up, we have the 700MT. It's an adventure touring bike, so it uses the same parallel twin engine that we know and love with the 700 CLX, and they put it inside this adventure touring platform. But what we came here for is the 800MT-X. Okay, so this right here is the 800MT-X, quite possibly CFMoto's most expensive bike to date. And yes, it does sport the familiar LC8C engine, and it also has the low slung gas tank from its sister 790s. And as we all know, KTM and CFMoto has a partnership in China, so CFMoto is the one responsible for building the 790s, and I'm pretty sure they've already resolved the camshaft issues on previous generations. So looking at the bike, this is one of the best looking off-road ADVs in the market. It comes in 2 different colors, plain black, and then the second is this signature CFMoto pink and teal color. Personally, I'd go with the teal version because the lines pop way more. Down here we have adjustable KYB suspension. We also have a dampener hidden under here, and then up here we have curved radiators. Then down here we have dual disc brakes taken care by J. Juan's, CFMoto's partner brakes for most of their bikes. And then we also have a 2118 spoke tubeless rims, similar to the 450MT, but I think these ones are much thicker, and they're configured differently compared to the 450MTs, where the spokes are actually located here near the exterior. So we still have CST off-road dual purpose tires. And then moving here towards the center, like I said, this has the low slung gas tank, which also acts as a crash guard. In theory, the low slung gas tank is meant to improve the bike's stability during off-road, so it lowers the center of gravity by putting all that weight down below. But obviously the downside is when the bike tips, that's when you feel the full weight of the bike. But riding it upright, clearly it has better stability and balance. And then moving here to the side, it has adopted the 450MT's off-road parts, like the folding brake lever. We also have the detachable pads for when you go off-road. We also have a trellis frame and an aluminum swing arm here at the back. Looking at it from this angle, you can see the clearance is pretty high. So for riders below 170 centimeters, I highly suggest that you opt for the lower seat. This one in particular has the higher seat, so seat depends per region, and I believe in the Philippines we're getting both variants. But personally, with my height, with 175 centimeters, I'd go with the standard high seat. Okay, so moving here at the back, we have the same taillight as the 450MTs. So they use this across the board with the 800MT and the 450MT. Similar with the tail signal lights, so this is standard across most CFMoto bikes. And overall, the build quality for this bike is pretty top-notch. If I were to nitpick, I'd say the only thing I'm not really keen on is the grab rails. Well, I'm only saying this because I think the 450MT grab rails in the plastic rack looks nicer than this one, surprisingly. But I think it's mainly because it's purposely built for off-road. But overall, like I said, the bike itself is pretty solid considering the price of this one and the loaded tech that it comes with, which we will talk about more in depth later. But for starters, we have a massive TFT display here and the same embossed camo texture you'd find on the 450MT, which is a nice little touch. Okay, so similar to the 450MT, we have a up and down wind deflector. So you can choose to bring it up or down on either side. So it's a one-hand operation like the 450MT. But unlike the 450MT, this one comes with a three-piece windshield. So there's one here, there's another here, and obviously there's the main one here. But I hope in the future, CFMoto would maybe come up with an 800MT-X or a 450MT-X rally version with a rally tower. But overall, this is a pretty solid build for CFMoto. And I'm sure on the hands of a pro rider, this thing will excel in both on-road and off-road. Okay, so first things first, let's check what's in store for us in this 7-inch vertical TFT display of the 800MT-X. So right off the bat, we are greeted by the speedometer here at the center. For this one, you can only change the theme, so from light mode to dark mode. Down here, we have your front wheel and rear wheel tire temperature and tire pressure warnings. You also have the engine temperature and the gas indicators, as well as the side stand indicator. As for the left-hand controls, since this is a ride-by-wire, it actually comes with a cruise control. So to enable it, just push this thing to the right and press up or down to increase or decrease the speed. Here we have your mode switch button. So this button enables you to quickly access or toggle through 3 different riding modes. So we have the standard, and we also have the rain mode. It's kind of like an eco mode where it lessens the power of the engine and increases the response on the ABS and the traction control. And weirdly, the off-road mode doesn't actually toggle off traction control. You still have to manually do it by pressing the function button that lets you easily access and toggle between screen brightness, quick shifter on and off, and then traction control on and off. So to turn it off, just press this one down. Personally, for me, I'd rather just do standard mode, and then if I really want to go off-road, I just hold the mode button for 2 to 3 seconds, and then it automatically switches to off-road mode with traction control off, ABS off, and rear wheel ABS off. So if you're doing more technical off-road stuff, I highly suggest that you just turn off everything by holding down the mode button for a few seconds. So in the top menu, you can see your bike, and it tells me to inflate the rear tires. I just deflated my tires because I went up this hill. You also have your voltage, gas range, and water temperature. And then if you press enter again, it will bring you to another set of menus. For this one is for traction control on and off. You also have the controls in this really nice animation to turn off rear wheel ABS. You also have here quick shifter, the gear shift reminders, and then down below it is the kilometers left for servicing. You also have your phone and music pairing for Bluetooth on your cell phone. And last but not the least, you have the QR for phone pairing for the CFMoto app, which enables GPS, geofencing, and Google Maps mirroring because this bike has a T-Box installed. More on that on a separate video, but that's pretty much it for the customization and the settings for the 800MT-X. So it's a pretty loaded bike with quick shifters, traction control, ABS, riding modes, cruise control, and 6-axis gyroscope, and USB and USB-C charging here on the side. So as you can see, it's a pretty loaded bike for its price, and CFMoto didn't really hold back on giving this bike all the feature that it needs. But other than that, I also wish that they carried over the folding side mirrors from the 450MT. So I just loved how the 450MT came stock with folding side mirrors. It would have been easier for CFMoto to just use those parts since they're already sharing a lot of parts like the folding clutch and brake pedals and removable pegs, to name a few. But okay, so now let's go back to riding. Okay, so for starters, the 800MT-X is a 799cc parallel twin engine with a pretty strong focus on torque from mid to high RPM, and it's almost effortless to lift the front wheel at will. It has a pretty light clutch, and the clutch pull from neutral to first gear itself is surprisingly responsive, and I'm not gonna lie, it does sound and feel like its KTM counterpart, which is not a bad thing of course because that engine has been around for a long time. In fact, I'd say this 800MT-X is a better looking and more techy version of the KTM ADVs at a much affordable price point. Not to mention, this bike is also equipped with a 6-axis IMU only found on high-end bikes, so it's able to control stuff like cornering ABS, riding modes, and emergency power cutoff. But how does it feel like to ride? So the MTX itself weighs in at 214 kg on paper, and even if you factor in the low slung gas tank's fuel capacity, I'd say it's still very manageable even on off-roads. Especially because all that weight is located way down below, hence the even lower center of gravity. But upright, be it on roads or slight trails, I'd say it holds itself pretty well. You don't really feel all that weight even on corners. Plus, it also helps that the low slung gas tank acts as a crash guard when dropped, and as a leg protector because it completely blocks wind in the front of the foot when riding.
But like all bikes, it also has its downsides when it comes to navigating single tracks with sharp corners and deep ruts. But even more surprising is that it's also very well rounded on roads, considering the fact that this is built as off-roader first with its 21 and 18 tubeless spokes, GPS provisions, the filter being located under the seat, and an option to turn off all safety features with the press of a button. As for the suspension, it's gonna take a lot of force to bottom out this 230mm front KYB suspension, and they're fully adjustable to your needs if you have a bias in either off-road or road riding. Off-road wise, the Slim off-road seats at 870mm is pretty tall even for my height at 175cm. I feel like shorter riders will have a hard time with this stock seat. So I really can't wait for CFMoto to bring in the low seat set at 830mm, making it more accessible to a wider range of riders. Overall, I'd say this bike is still 55% off-road and 45% on-road. And I know there's not much of a big difference because honestly, this bike works really well as a touring bike with that low long gas tank. But I guess the big question is if I would upgrade to this from my 450MT. And my answer is probably not for now. Personally, I think the 450MT for my needs fits me perfectly. But I'm sure more advanced riders out there looking for more power and thrill would love this bike. But for now, I'm no pro rider and my current skill sets fits my 450MT perfectly.
And this is actually the first time that CFMoto is combining both launches for the 4x4 and the two-wheelers. So this is a very important event for CFMoto and I think they really pulled it off. And that's pretty much it. Props to CFMoto. Every year, there's always new bikes coming out. And every year as well, their events just keeps on getting better. But that's pretty much it for this video. I hope to see you guys in the next event and I'll see you guys in the next episode.